Okay, welcome to our One World Energy Encounter with the Zohar. This week's portion is Vayetze. It's the story of how Jacob went out, and it's basically about his journeys. But his journeys are our journeys, so that's what we're going to talk about: aspects of our journeys as reflected in his life experience. Inviting in our teachers, the Rav and Karen, Michael, Rabbi Schlag, Rabbi Brandwein, Yeri Kodesh, Ramchal, Rabbi Tarfon, Rabbi Ramazulai, Rabbi Nachman de Levitetsk, Rabbi Kolona, Mishapir, Piasetzna, the Baal Shem Tov, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, and all the students, Rabbi Mordechai of Chernobyl, one soul with Yosef Atzadik in Shechem. Today is the 11th day of Sagittarius, Kislev. And again, this is our One World Zohar studies, so we want to have a consciousness of channeling from the flawless universe all types of energy of healing, of unity, of removing negativity from our world, of ending the conflicts in our world, of energy of protection for all the innocents that are in harm's way in Israel, and all the soldiers protecting those innocents, and also connecting to the energy of healing for all those who need healing, and also energy of assistance in their elevation to all the souls that we know who are on that journey of that transition. Also, energy of Ahavat Chinam, unconditional love, and treating everyone with human decency. Okay, so Jacob gets the birthright, and from his father Isaac, and his brother Esau gets very upset with him and wants to kill him. So Rebecca tells Jacob, you know what? Just leave town for a little bit. Go to Uncle Laban's and hang out there. And so, stuff happens, conflicts, brothers, whatever. She's sending him to a place that she thinks he'll be safe. But ultimately, it's not about that. May be what she was thinking. On a 1% level, we're all thinking things all the time. But there's a whole different story playing out in a 99% level. And we have to always be open to this idea that no matter what is happening in our lives, we are not privy to, we are not aware of, we don't have any consciousness about what's really going on behind the scenes. Because as it turns out, for Jacob, he was on this journey to connect to his higher self, to find a way of manifesting the best version of himself. And in that context, he meets Rachel and Leah. They become his partners, and they create 12 children. They channel 12 unique souls who end up being the 12 tribes of Jacob, otherwise known as the children of Israel, who we all come from. That's what really was going on. So that's one aspect of this deep story. And to bring us even closer to that and assist us in elevating our consciousness, let's go to verse 17 in the Zohar Vayetze. Vayetze Yaakov v'kitra distimu migoy sitra stima nafka. Zohar aspak laria de nahara. Klilan mitren gevav nin b'mit chabran kachada. Kevan di'elain it kalilu dabada. It chazu be kol gvav nin. Argaman ihu kol chezu din horim be klilan. Ratzavashov inun norin la mit akvan lemechamei chibur chada it chabran lahel Zohar. Maria?
And Jacob went out of the closed labyrinth, and from the closed mystery emerges the splendor of the shining mirror, which is composed of two colors joined together.
Okay, so what is the shining mirror? So we have this concept that there are two mirrors, one that shines and one that doesn't have any light of its own. The Aramaic word for mirror is aspaklaria. And this is a deep concept because what do you mean shining mirrors? I don't see any shining mirrors. What it is a deeper understanding, access to our reality, meaning that everything in our world that we encounter is coming from an unseen world. That is the mirror that shines. And the mirror that doesn't shine is actually our world, Malchut. Everything that we encounter is a reflection. Now, one of the things that, and when you study the 10 luminous emanations, Talmud Esther Sfirot, one of Rabbi Shlag's most elevated writings, one of the things that he repeats, which is something that the Ari repeats, is that we have these references to physical items to assist us in wrapping our heads around deep spiritual concepts from the unseen world. But they're not supposed to be taken literally. There isn't a shining mirror somewhere. What do you mean? It says the shining mirror. Yeah, that's not to be taken literally. Just like points and lines in a description of the spiritual world are not meant to be taken literally. And many have taken those literally and gone off track. So it's important that we understand that it's not literal. It's a metaphor. There's a source for the light that we encounter. That's the shining mirror. That's the upper realm. That's Zeranpin. And then there's Malchut, our realm, which has no light of its own, referred to as the mirror that doesn't illuminate. It gets illuminated, but it doesn't have any light of its own. So why didn't the Zohar just say there's a sun and a moon? The sun is the source of the light that we encounter, and the moon doesn't have any light of its own. So the truth is we do have that metaphor used all the time. You know, you can't look at the sun without it damaging your eyes. That light is too bright. You can, though, look at the light every place it shows up. In much the same way, we lack the ability to have a consciousness about the source of that light. But we do see how the light shows up in our world. And it's an important distinction to make because look outside, as we've discussed before, everything looks pretty stagnant. Like, it's just like, it is what it is. I'll go to sleep tonight, I'll wake up, it's going to look I'll have the same view out of my apartment. Nothing's changed. I mean, the cars have moved around a little bit. There's a little fewer leaves on the trees, but it's all there. Same trees, right? No, that's an illusion. That energy is being pumped into our reality every second of reality. It only looks constant, especially because we're attaching time to all this, which isn't part of the spiritual realm. So again, what's the point of even thinking about this? Because we want to deepen our appreciation for the things that are happening in our world, because those too are illusions. Those two only represent 1% of what's really going on. Even when we see, and we have, and recently, we see the most outrageous things going on in the world, where there's truly outrage around. We don't really, I'm not saying those things didn't happen, but we don't know the context in which they're happening. And when we attach context or meaning to them, we're doing that based on perceiving only about 1% of what's really going on. Anyone have questions about that they want to share? I'm sure we all have questions about it. But it's a very deep concept. Yes.
Yeah, I do, because I just want to make sure I'm following you here, and I think I am. So basically what he's saying us in this verse or in this sentence, when Jacob went on went out, that, he is going into this, with his, how he is, right? This level of consciousness that he is at all time. But this sentence is saying that even though, he went out, he's going in this mystery, a splendor that is described as the shining mirror, that there, even though he's going to encounter and be in that space, but at the same time, and like I think you explained, he will be faced with these two colors, which is the dark sides and the bright side.
Yeah. So there's the thing with the colors are going to be significant, as we'll see, but what it does for us, what the opportunity here for us is to look at the world in a different way. It's a struggle to connect to joy when there's so much sadness in the world. It's a challenge to connect to joy when we have so much sadness in our lives. And yet, we need to connect to joy all the time. This is a journey. I mean, I don't really enjoy roller coasters, but the whole idea is that it's a simulated dangerous scenario. That's what a roller coaster is. It's the simulation of a dangerous scenario. And so, it's thrilling. Nothing's going to happen, although every so often something does. This is going to happen. You're going to get on the roller coaster and get off the roller coaster. Well, that is our life. We get on the roller coaster and we get off the roller coaster, and it's not a roller coaster we can't handle. If we choose to handle it, we can handle it. If we choose to not be overwhelmed by it, we won't be. And I know how easy that sounds. There's this concept that we didn't come here to suffer. We didn't come into this life to suffer, yet we do. I was doing a workshop for an introduction to Kabbalah class, and the introduction was being taught by Eitan Yardeni, and he said, we didn't come here to suffer. We made a contract with your Creator, and we came here to fulfill the terms of that contract, which is to work on our soul. So there was a new student in my workshop, and she was born into a family which was very abusive, and she was abused as a child. And she's like, I never would have chosen that. I'm not saying that she did or didn't choose it. I am saying, as Eitan was saying, we didn't come here to suffer, and she clearly did, and still does, no doubt. And clearly we all have things that we suffer from. So I signed up for that. Well, I don't know. I don't know what the other side of the deal is. I'm making a payment, but what am I getting? Well, we don't see that immediately. We don't see what's on the other side of the deal when we pay the price of the pain that we experience. What is the other side? What is the contract that we made? What's the deal that we made for that? Removing what? Removing what kind of negativity? Removing what kind of blockages? Creating what opportunities in the world? We don't know. And so Jacob is seeing things well beyond what we're seeing, because he is a truly elevated soul, so much so that we're still talking about him. He opened up the gates to Tiferet, which is this energy of balance, which is really what we're talking about. How do I go through life with equanimity, with balance, but at the same time, feeling everything that I need to feel? We don't want to numb ourselves from what we're experiencing. Yes, Roshan.
Okay, question, which is, we signed up for this. Is it possible that we can acknowledge, by being here as students, as Kabbalah students, can we acknowledge that we are intentional in taking on what our soul needs to take on?
What do you mean by acknowledge?
I'm sorry.
What
Try
do you
again.
mean by acknowledge? Can we acknowledge that
Well,
intentional?
okay. Well, I mean, if we take on a practice, it has a rationale behind it. And that's, as I understand it, helps to enlighten us so that we can continue on the path. I mean, that's my take on it. Is that true?
Yes, 100%. 100%. You know, when you're on this path, I think the difference between being on this path of discovery is where everybody's on a journey. But when you're on this path of discovery, you understand or hope to understand more about the journey that you're on. Does that make sense? Is that addressing what you're saying? Yeah, I think it's really important. I think it's a very important point. And that's part of what we get when we are studying the journey of Jacob, a deeper understanding of his journey, but at the same time, it opens for us a deeper understanding of our journey. Because at the end of the day, and I'm saying this as a Cancerian whose emotions ride up and down like a roller coaster. You know, I am desirous of, as I'm sure we all are, maintaining a connection to joy in the face of uncertainty. However, we can be certain about certain things. We want certainty that we are on a journey and that there's purpose behind that journey. This was the discussion in this week's Kabbalah 1 class with Eitan. The workshop was acknowledge somewhere in your life where you feel there's no purpose to what you're doing. Now, we may not want to acknowledge that because it's kind of a painful thing, but I mean, I think it's important to acknowledge where is it that I am feeling aimless and purposeless in what I'm doing. And people in the workshop shared some amazing examples. And like there was one woman who works for a technology company in customer service. And it used to be a really great place to work. And now it's not such a great place to work anymore because the management team changed and she feels it's become very automated and not as personal. And she's on the phone with people all the time. And she said, I get very angry when people, I'm trying to help them and they won't listen. And the discussion about that, and we have all that, I mean, who doesn't get frustrated when they're not being heard? We all do, but we don't all have enough awareness that the reason why we're getting frustrated is because we're not being heard. So there are all kinds of things that are going on in our life that are triggering all kinds of emotional responses. And when you're on this path, part of what we need to do is take a step back and ask ourselves, why am I feeling this? Why am I feeling this frustration? Why am I feeling this anger? What's going on? So I said to her, I said, can you help everyone? And she said, no. I said, well, that's really something important to understand, that you're in customer service, that you can't help everyone. So if they're not listening, that's obviously someone you're not supposed to help. You're just not supposed to help them. You can't help them if they don't want to be helped. And the sooner we accept, even in the example of this, the sooner we accept that we can't help everyone, we need to make our effort and just let go of the result. Let's not stay attached to those things. That's the lesson we need to learn. We can't help everyone. It's hard enough to help ourselves. Yes, Ron.
That reminds me of a statement that Monica Berg once said in, I think it was the weekly energy forecast or weekly energy boost, where she said, like, you know, if you have something to offer someone and they reject it, it doesn't mean that it has no value. It just means it wasn't meant for that person.
Right. Or I would add to that, because I've had this conversation with Monica. She told me, just because someone's not listening to you doesn't mean you shouldn't say it. You still have to say it. I mean, we all are involved in relations where we're not being heard. You still have to say it. And then you let go of the result. Oh, I'm so frustrated. They're not listening to me. They're not going to listen to you. They lack that ability. But that doesn't mean at some point in time they're not going to reflect upon what you said. That's what I heard Monica say also.
That's great.
That typically happen to us. Sometimes we don't hear it when, the information is being given to us, because we are in different space that we don't see what the other person is trying to share with us, right? That once we come down on the situation or month or whatever times go back and we start reflecting, we're just like, aha, now I understand what that person was trying to tell me.
Absolutely.
Right? It doesn't have to be.
Absolutely.
It is,
Listen,
I think it is our job to kind of, if we see it, share it, communicate it.
Absolutely. Think about the story that plays out with Jacob. He goes and he impersonates Esau to get his father's blessing. Well, maybe that just had to do simply with the fact that that Isaac didn't know that the blessing was supposed to go to Jacob, but Rebecca did. So Rebecca said to Jacob, you need to go get the blessing. Isaac wasn't ready for that. He couldn't hear that. He was too connected to Esau. He couldn't see that. So they had to create this scenario which Jacob got the blessing. I'm sure at some point Isaac realized he did the right thing. But that's happening to us all the time. And this is Isaac and Jacob, Abraham, Isaac. This is like, the patriarchs. There are things going on all the time. They don't know the deeper, they're being tested. We're all being tested all the time. We don't merit to see what is really going on. But we have to pass the test anyhow. So what's the test? We have to show up as the best version of ourselves in all those situations. So all this is what we're unpacking in this story, is access to that deeper reality to give us the energy, spiritual energy we need to take the steps we need to take, to move in the direction we need to move into, with a level of certainty that I don't know where this journey is taking me, but I do know that this is the journey I'm on and I need to be on. And I'm getting out of my comfort zone. I'm sure Jacob didn't want to leave his home. I'm not sure he really wanted to go to Uncle Laban's. I'm sure he's happy with the way it turned out. And the same thing goes for us. It's like we got to walk the walk.
It's funny, can I add more?
Please.
There's two more sisters, just three of us. One of them is just, she feels, and she told me, I don't think that God exists. I don't think there's nothing. I don't know why you pray. And my older sister, she's pretty much the same. Every day she does the studies, she goes to church, she belongs to a group within the church, whatever, and I do my things. And my oldest sister wants to, her goodness, that all that she experiences, she wants to share that with the youngest one. Well, the youngest one doesn't receive it. And she keeps saying, if God is so wonderful, why are we going through all of this? And, and the oldest one gets frustrated. You have to become, just be patient. Things will turn your way, it'll eventually come. Because my sister, the oldest one, sees it as there is goodness and we receive it with trust. And if we stay aligned and we just go through all that where we have to. She believes in that. I kind of follow her. I said, true, stay on it. But the youngest one doesn't. And when the youngest one then speaks to me, she's like, gets frustrated because the oldest one is preaching to her. And she's like, I don't want nobody to be preaching to me.
And nobody wants to be preached to.
Right. And I'm just like, just listen to it and just take it and just digest it later. Maybe comes to you later, but I know where she's coming from. I know where you're coming from. It's just two different worlds. So here we're talking about black and white, right? In a way, and the two different colors, I would say. And I see one trying to bring that brightness, that goodness, and the other one is in this space, physicality, everything is 1%. There's nothing than that. And I'm just have to strive every day as it goes. And I'm like, I get it. And if that was fulfills you right now, fine. I respect that. But I don't, I try not to. You should listen to her or anything because then I'm taking side.
Right.
I'm just
Right. Then you just like, it's exactly what she doesn't want to hear.
right. Because she
And, like,
doesn't.
there's a point, like, it's like, even in our lives where we have to share certain things, but we got to let go.
Right.
Because
And
you always do more damage when you keep repeating the same things over and over again. You're not getting the same result, different result. It's like, what is the point? And that there is no point.
And you said it right there, creates a damage because the oldest one is in the same state right now in Florida, visiting her kids, and reached out to her. And she's like, no, I'm not going to meet with her because she's going to preach. I don't want to hear it. I'm like, oh God.
Exactly.
So, the oldest one calls me. She didn't listen to me. And I'm like, hey, you do what you're supposed to do. Enjoy your family. And it is what it is. Maybe this is not the time. It's another time. And she's like, okay, I guess that's what I do. But she wants, she wants that connection. We're supposed to do this together. You're my sister, but the other one has this idea. You're going to preach to me. I'm not going to listen to you. It's.
Here's the thing. Your younger sister is communicating a message that the older sister isn't hearing.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's like, who's the preacher and who's the preachee? You know what I'm saying? I mean, that is a message. And again, it's easy for us to sit here and easy for me to take a step back and say that. But when we're involved in in relationships and situations, it's very difficult to see the message. We're getting messages all the time. Which ones are we supposed to follow through on, and which ones aren't we supposed to?
Yeah, and one is the Aries, the other one is a Cancer.
Yeah, so which one's the Cancerian?
The younger one.
Oh, well, okay.
And the older one is Aries, and she thinks that because I'm the oldest one, she comes with that authority too. I'm
So
the oldest
interesting.
one, it has to be. But the youngest one put her boundaries, and
Yeah.
the oldest one is not respecting that because.
And she's a water sign,
Yeah, the youngest one.
the youngest one. So, I mean, it's just not the way she needs to hear it.
Right.
And she won't hear it until she's ready to. All right, let's continue.
Okay. Because they are included within one another, all the colors are visible in it. All the appearing lights are included in the color purple.
It's fascinating, right? The color purple. So that is the color that shows up in many of our Bible stories as the color of royalty. This is like a supernal. It's not, again, let's not think about physical colors. What do you mean? It's talking about colors. These are vibrational frequencies. We interpret energy. We see the color in energy. But that's just the way our mind processes those vibrational frequencies through our eyes. So again, that's the energy of the shining, that's the energy of the shining mirror. That's the energy, all the colors that are finding their way into our realm. But we're so attached to physicality, we only see the color. We don't see the inner energy. Yes, Ron?
Just as far as like energy work and like chakra work, the color purple is the color of the crown chakra, which is like the highest, like level of
Keter.
Yeah,
It's Keter. Yeah. And it's representative of all the colors, because we know within each of the sefirot are each also 10 levels within each of the sefirot. So again, this is an opportunity for us to elevate our consciousness, to understand that there's internal energy in everything. When I was talking to this woman who was doing the customer service, I said she was very frustrated, and she has a spiritual practice. She actually is a Reiki master, and she has a bunch of other stuff that she does on the side, but she has to keep her job at the IT company because it's what pays the bills. Anyhow, so she got part of her frustration when she didn't feel as much, again, purpose in what she was doing. And I said to her, every single call you get on as customer service is happening for a reason. Like, those are people that you're supposed to be speaking to. I said, listen to their voice, listen to what's coming, the energy that's coming through. Perhaps the reason they're calling is not the reason, the reason they think they're calling is not the reason they're really calling. Like, every one of those conversations is an opportunity to inject spiritual energy. In every single one of our encounters in our life is also an opportunity to inject spiritual energy. A part of what we need to do is, in a sense, determine what color is heading towards us. What color are we interacting with? What is the flavor of the moment? What's the color of the moment? You know, when you're watching a football game, in the sports analogy, this person that does the play-by-play, and then there's a person that comments on the play, and that's referred to as color commentary. They're adding color and context to what's going on. It's a deeper perspective. Okay, let's continue.
That is, as the color purple includes all the colors, so the splendor of the shining mirror comprises all the lights.
Remember that when, at the very beginning of existence, the light of the Creator was available and in equal proportion in every point of existence. There was the light of fulfillment. Anything you can think of, healing, soulmate energy, happiness, joy, unconditional, in every point of existence. And there was the Creator sharing the light of the Creator, and there was the receiver. We represent that receiver. And at some point we said, we want to feel like we're earning this. And so the light restricted, tzimtzum, and left us in this world where we don't see the light. Is the light available? Yes. Every single color in the spectrum. Again, that's a metaphor for aspects of fulfillment, to address lacks that we perceive in our life. It's all available, but we don't see it because part of the contract that we've made is we want to earn that. So everywhere where we have work to do, where we have challenges, where we don't experience fulfillment, is the work we're doing to earn the light, because the contract that we made was, I want to earn it. I don't want bread of shame. I don't want the feeling that, you know, this is happening without my effort. So we're making the effort. Yeah, I know, but it's like life and death. Yeah, I know. Some of these efforts are serious in the spectrum. But the greater the effort, the greater the blessing. It's just we don't, again, merit to see what that blessing is yet. Okay, keep going.
These lights run and return, but they run from the illumination of the right to the illumination of the left to be included in it.
I mean, it's like it all is, it's just a constant flow of energy. Again, right and left, chesed and gevura, mercy and judgment. Okay, and what does Jacob represent? Restriction, or the balance between those two polar opposites, sharing and receiving. Go ahead.
But then they immediately return to their place in the illumination of the right, and they do not stop to see. That is, to draw out chokhmah, but immediately return to their place. The illumination of the right and left are joined within that splendor, bringing both to the right in the illumination of Hasadim. And the illumination of the left is not seen at all, but is
Negated.
negated and included within the right.
This is why, we have this teaching that the world could not exist with just the left side, with just judgment, with just gvura. We need mercy. This is why, for us, it's always right side over left. I mean, there are people that will only wear shirts where the right, when they're buttoning the shirt, the right is buttoning over the left. I mean, that's how literal they take it. And again, it is right and left, of course, but it's not necessarily to be taken literally. Right is the energy of chesed, the energy of mercy, the energy of unconditional love. Left is the energy of judgment, also the energy of appreciation. Isaac never leaves the land of Israel because he is opening the gates to judgment, to gevura, to restriction on that. He's restricting. If he leaves the energy center of the universe, judgment might run amok. He has to keep it in balance. That's what he represents. This is why he felt more of a kinship to Esau, because Esau always was, it says he loved Esau because they were both left column. Only Esau couldn't keep his negativity in balance. But what does Jacob represent? The balance of right and left. That it's always right over left. And this is why we need to always approach our life from a perspective of mercy. We want to have a balance between mercy and judgment. You just can't live in either side. It's always left and right. There's always a balance going on. And so Jacob, in his journey, he goes to meet Laban. Laban is like one of the most negative people in the world. That was Rebekah's brother. And why does Jacob have to go? He just left Esau, who was one major negative energy force in the world. And now he's going to thought that was supposed to be a safe space for him. But what does he do? He transforms that whole experience. He transforms it an opportunity to connect with his soulmates, to channel the children, to channel 12 children, the tribes, and to within the challenge of being in Laban's environment. One of the things he's asking for is the ability to navigate all that. And so we too, and he doesn't stay. At a certain point, it's time to go. And they leave. And so too in our lives, we are in environments, we are in places that, aren't safe spaces. And we still have to find ways to navigate. And we still have to find ways to inject spiritual energy. And we have to still decide when it's time to leave. So again, it's a great story about the journeys of Jacob, which we are involved with right now. But it's not about this historical story of Jacob and his travels and his journeys. It has to have present moment meaning to each one of us. And it's going to mean something else different to each one of us. And that's why we're connected to the story. And that's the purpose of connecting to the Zohar, to give us more insight and more appreciation for the journeys that we're on and the significance that they have. And again, each one of us has a different journey because that's what the world needs. The world needs us to show up as the best version of ourselves. And the only way we do that is through the challenges that we encounter, which are designed to assist us in manifesting our best version. Okay, we're out of time. Thank you all. Love you all. Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.
Thank you, guys.
Hi, guys.
Shabbat shalom. Thank you.